Hi, thanks for coming by. My name is Jamie Francis. We're in After Effects here, and I'm going to quickly run through how I use Warp Stabilizer to stabilize footage in post. Give you some little tips and some tricks I use. I've imported a clip here from a movie we're working on, me and Dan. I have a shot here. It's a few seconds long. Let's see what this does. It kind of pans out. It's pretty stable as is. What we're gonna do is just kind of stabilize it a bit more. It's not very wobbly, but it'll work for our purpose. So I'll just click on the file here. Click on that, and then I'm gonna import an effect, Warp Stabilize. What I like to do, I like to use the search tool over here. It's a lot easier, quicker. It's a lot quicker than just trying to find it in these folders here. So I just put warp, press in warp S, and then you want to import this, Warp Stabilizer VFX. It's in the distort folder. I'm just going to click and drag that right onto the clip. And then it will automatically analyze the footage. You really want to make sure that you have your clip kind of set up what you want to stabilize, instead of like loading like an hour clip or whatever, like a really long, maybe say a minute long shot. You want to stabilize the whole thing. Just make sure you have it cut up to what you actually want to stabilize, and not just everything, because it's going to take a while. But as you can see over here, I'll open this up a little bit. It has a bunch of settings that you can change on the Warp Stabilizer. It definitely depends on just what you want to stabilize. My favorite is you either want to click on smooth motion. So that means like on this shot, the camera kind of pulls back. You just want to make it smoother, obviously. But if you say have a shot where you just didn't have a tripod, or didn't have something to keep it really still, basically no motion or no movement to the camera whatsoever, you want to click no motion. So that what After Effects will do, or what this plugin will try to do, is make it a still shot, like a lockdown shot basically. For this shot, it probably won't work very well. So I'm going to click smooth motion, and then there's a smoothness tool here where the default is set at 50%. I find that 50% is, especially for this shot, because it's actually it's almost it's stable already. You definitely don't want it 50%. You could probably get away with just having it maybe 25, maybe even 15, but I'll just click on it and click 20 just to see what that looks. You can always change this. What I like to do, I used to use subspace warp a lot, but what happens with that is it distorts the footage a little bit too much sometimes. So what I've been using lately actually is this position, scale, rotation a lot more, especially with people in the shot, because you don't want to like distort the people's faces, stuff like that. So you want to kind of keep the shot as realistic as possible. I mean, kind of depending on what you want. So I click on position, scale, rotation, but I make sure I preserve the scale, because what happens if you don't preserve the scale, it kind of bounces around a lot more. I mean, maybe you can get it to work good, but I really like choosing this. But then if you preserve the scale, really the only things that are changing are the position and the rotation. And then the rest I kind of just leave. I have an additional scale you can change, but you can just, if you click this, you can go like, it zooms in a bit. There's a reason for this setting, and I'll show you why. Basically, I do change this framing here. Instead of auto scale crop stabilize, I just go stabilize only. I like to keep everything kind of like as raw as possible, if that makes any sense. There is a little tool here, stabilize synthesize edges, and I'll show you what that does, but for now we'll just go stabilize only. And now we can actually just see what this shot looks like now. We'll play it back. And that's looking pretty good. Obviously at the end there, it kind of, the camera goes away. It's gonna make quick to cut that at the end there. Looking pretty good. But as you can see, I'll pull back, you can see the black border, and you can actually see it wobbling around, because that's kind of like the reframing of your frame, right? And that's how much movement. I'll zoom right in on this actually. This is the difference that the shot has corrected itself. But what happens is you're kind of missing that information now, right? It's not a huge deal because it's only a few pixels. But what you can do is, this is why they have this preserve, or this additional scale setting, and you can change it here. But I usually just do it in transform. So I click on here, go to the settings, transform, and just scale it this way. I mean, it doesn't really matter which way you do it. What we can do is, let's just scale this to 102%. And you can see there's like about a 2 pixel black at the top. So let's do one more, 103%. So basically you are lowering the resolution. Doing it this way, you're essentially blowing up your footage. But as you can see now, there's probably no black bars whatsoever. And it looks like a kind of a cool little dolly backup. Maybe I can show you what it would look like if I really jack up the stabilized smoothness. Sometimes with really shaky footage, this just, like, you can't go to 90%. It just doesn't work. But I actually don't mind that, so I'm gonna. But because the black bar now is on the bottom, I'm just gonna reframe it a bit. Click on it and just move the position. I'm just clicking down on the arrows here. It's looking pretty good, not bad. That's basically a tutorial, just a quick little rundown on warp stabilizing and how to stabilize footage. Again, with warp stabilizer, it's always good to get really smooth footage in the first place. The thing about warp stabilizer, it's great for little bumps and stuff. But if you're running around with no stabilizer while you're shooting in any way, like if you're just handheld running around and the camera's bouncing around, you will not get warp stabilizer to work. There's no. It's best to get the best, smoothest shot, like especially if that's what you want. You want your shot originally to be as smooth as you can, and then just use warp stabilizer to like clean it up. But anyway, I hope this helped in some way. Thanks a lot.